next, we're going to delve into the conversation of various issues that came up on the demonstration. Leave our hotels alone demonstration yesterday. But that conversation is coming up in a bit. I'll be right back.
All unite to
Hundreds of them poured onto the streets wearing red and singing patriotic songs. Intermittently, the songs were changed to reflect their mood and anger. They are calling on President Akufo-Addo to immediately stop the sale of the SSNIT hotels.
This land, the hotels, what is important is that the Alodian landowners must be given equity share in this hotel. There's nothing wrong with giving 30% of the equity shares of all these hotels to the Alodian landowners. And therefore, if you are going to sell it, sit down with them, think about it. Now, what is the benefit to our people? Have you thought about it? Who is going to take over? How much is the hotel sold? What procurement processes do they follow for a sitting member of parliament and a sitting minister of state to benefit from information that is sacred for anyone to contest for procurement processes? This is a violation of ethical rules.
And we will never sit down to let this happen. Ghanaian youth, this is the time. This is the time. Don't sit back and say, I'm found. It is really important that we all see the importance for we to come together and fight against this oppression.
There was an unexpected guest at the protest, the Lawulamo, Ni Yemo Obroni, who is the high priest of La. He intermittently poured libation during the protest. He invoked the gods to deal with persons he says are not only grabbing state properties but looting their lands.
I'm the chief priest of the land. So they are taking our property on lawful way without we Alodian masters' consent. Do you understand? So if I'm a chief priest, I have to fight for my right because I have kids coming. Do you understand me? Yeah. So we need to tell the government that any land belong to La Gadangwe, they should never dare. They should give our land to X. We don't want problem with him.
Which land specifically are you talking about?
Chado, Trade Fair, the OTEX, Beach Pump License Office. Here. They have been sold to somebody. Pass and Gadi, back here. No. What is this?
And you say the government has taken the lands without your consent?
Exactly. Government collaboration with the Land Commission. And this kind of land commission, they are broken so far so good. They are useless commission over there. They have been stolen all our lands.
Part of the capital city is currently on lockdown as a result of the hands off our hotels demonstration. What you can see right now are vehicles waiting in this gridlock. They cannot move because the protesters have taken over the road. On the road in front of the Labadi Beach Hotel and the La Palm Beach Hotel. As you can see, these vehicles heading to the Central Business District and other parts of the capital are unable to move. Those also moving towards 37, the Al Sports Stadium, Bema Camp area and its environs are unable to move. No vehicle is able to move at this point. It's a gridlock and a bumper-to-bumper situation.
It was all peaceful until a scuffle broke out between the protesters and personnel of the Ghana Police Service. Police was forced to use pepper spray to disperse the agitated crowd. The protesters had tried going beyond police barricade. North-Tongue Member of Parliament Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa says Parliament would take a serious view of the issue. He says some of the demonstrators were injured in the process.
We asked colleagues to rush them to the hospital. I suspect they are at the 37 hospitals, but I don't have the current report on their status because I've been presenting the petition. But I'm going there right away with our colleagues, and we will not abandon them in the battlefield. We are going to check up on them, and we'll keep you updated.
So what exactly happened to them, though?
Unprovoked, tear gas, pepper spray, and a number of them collapsed, a number of them got injured. Totally unacceptable. The police have exhibited bad faith. We agreed that we will terminate at Christ the King Church. Christ the King Church. This is not Christ the King Church. So why take us by surprise and then on top of that use pepper spray, use tear gas? We cannot accept that. We will look into this. I've told the regional police commander that Parliament is going to take a strong view of this, and you will certainly hear from us on this one.
Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa later presented a 15-point petition to the Deputy Chief of Staff, Emmanuel Edumwa Bosman.
We call on President Akufo-Addo to immediately stop the sale of our SSNIT hotels. 2, we take the view that state assets should not be sold, especially profitable ones. Historically, since 1966, the sale of state assets has not been in the supreme interest of Ghana, and we therefore cannot continue on that destructive trajectory. In any case, the government should not sell workers' properties without the permission and consent of workers and all Ghanaians. It is wrong, immoral, and unethical for ministers and government officials to buy state assets. President Akufo-Addo must not preside over this detestable and dangerous practice, particularly when he assured the nation that his appointees who want to make money through such transactions should rather stay in the private sector.
The Deputy Chief of Staff, Emmanuel Edumwa Bosman, received the petition and said government will study it and get back with feedback.
We want to keep in the spirit of democracy. As you know, this year is an election year. We want to do everything in a clean, peaceful, and calm manner. So I've received this petition on behalf of the President. I'll submit same, and I can assure you that it will be looked into and the appropriate measures taking place as and when it is deemed fit and proper to do so. Thank you so very much, and God bless us all.
Now, we'll be engaging 2 people who were at the forefront of this demonstration yesterday, starting with Professor Sharif Mahmood Khalid. He's an associate professor of finance. Prof, thanks for joining us this morning. How are you? If you can hear me, Prof, you have to unmute.
Okay.
Good morning. It's good to have...
Good morning. I'm unmuted now.
Right. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
You were there yesterday leading the charge, clad in red. Yeah. We want to find out what next. But first of all, let's talk a little bit about your experience from the grounds yesterday. How do you describe the experience yesterday?
Well, I'll say it was a massive crowd. We didn't really expect those numbers, given it was a working day and a long weekend. We thought that everyone was going to be at work. But for me, the most exciting bit of it was workers peeping through the windows of their workplaces in solidarity, some taking videos and photos, was what was much significant. And the route of the demonstrations, as we started off, we started initially from the Labadi Beach Hotel, which has been put up for sale. And we went to the Land Commission. And for me, filing past the Land Commission was significant, right? And the administrator for lands and stools for the Greater Accra region as well was also very significant, because these are significant institutions that have linkages to whatever demonstrations we're carrying through. But the bad faith that was exhibited in all of this was that we couldn't get to the Christ the King Church. But, Sweetie, you have to know that in time past, as way back as 2016, the Flagstaff House, people could demonstrate as close as Flagstaff House and even throw stones into it. What has changed in our democracy?
I mean, you can argue that it's for security concerns. You cannot go and pelt the Flagstaff House.
In 2016, security concerns were not there. For me, I'm looking at it from a democratic lens, right? The White House, number 10. You have demonstrated as much as close to these edifices as much as possible. So what has changed in our democracy? What is so security significant of the Flagstaff House that was not in 2016?
Right. So you're saying that you didn't get to Christ the King. This morning I read, I think, in a Daily Guide newspaper that you were trying to move past the agreed destination for you to halt the demonstration.
No,
so give me some clarity on that. Did you get to Christ the King, or you were close to Christ the King, or you didn't get anywhere near Christ the King at all?
We didn't get anywhere near Christ the King, which was the designated endpoint for the demonstration. And that was bad faith on the side of the police.
Have you heard from those persons who were taken to the hospital because of the tear gas?
They're responding to treatment, and we are offering our solidarity with them. This morning, leadership of the demonstration visited some of them, and they are responding quite well to treatment. And again, that was very needless.
Okay.
Right? Unprovoked, you throw tear gas. Because I was at the forefront of the demonstration, and what shook me in all of this was that we got to a point where the designated point that we had agreed on to reach was not allowed. So definitely you would realize that the crowd would be agitated if this was not permissible. But in such civil demonstrations, the first step to take is to try to solve the problem amicably, but unprovoked.
I think
the unprovoked crowd. And that to me was so unnecessary.
Right. I'll come back to you in a bit about way forward. I mean, the Deputy Chief of Staff has received your 15-point petition. We'll get to that in a bit. But Dr. Ishmael Dodu from the Ga-Dangme Alliance also joins us now. Doc, it's good to see you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, many people argue that this is about SSNIT hotels, but what is the interest of Ga-Dangme Alliance in all of this? I want to appreciate what the work you're doing over there. So give me a sense of your thoughts.
Thank you very much. I would say thank you for giving me this opportunity to share a bit of light from the Ga-Dangme Alliance for Change and how it relates to the demonstration that we had yesterday against the hotels. The first thing to say is that what is happening in terms of the way they've treated the sales of the hotel is very symptomatic of how they are treating the larger Ga-Dangme community. We do have a stake in the sales of the hotel. We believe that the allodial owners of the lands on which the hotels are sited needed to be comprehensively consulted in the decision that they are making for the hotel, because it will affect the livelihoods of the Ga-Dangme people that are even hired there, who are working there. It will also affect, their stake in terms of whether or not there could be a renegotiation of certain equities that they need to have. Remember that at the time these hotels were sited, the decisions were on the basis of allowing, some kind of a social gesture, because it is pensioners that whose monies are going to be used. And so we see it as a strategic decision in order to allow these hotels to be sited there. And we also have the perception that once these hotels are here, then we'll have an opportunity to create jobs and so on for our people. None of these expectations have been met. And consistently, we have seen a situation where the allodial owners of the land on which the Republic is sited, in terms of the Accra, that have been consistently sidelining all decisions that affect, their assets that they own. And to the extent that it almost feels like there has been a treatment of disdain for all the good gestures that the Ga-Dangme community have given towards the establishment of the Greater Accra and the Republic. And so this is why we are very much engaged in this, to send a very strong signal that we are no longer tolerating these things. We have seen that the Ga-Dangme community have been totally left behind. They are faced with very serious urban poverty situation. And urban poverty, in the scheme of things, is the most extreme form of poverty that anyone can face. As I articulated earlier, that when you have a group of people who are in this situation where they see wealth, they see riches all around them, but they continuously live in abject poverty, you are creating some kind of mental instability to them. And when they are children, you are causing a lot of mental stress on them.
Right.
And the other thing is also that they have not able to access these opportunities. Look at the schools that the Ghana community people are attending. Look at the infrastructure of the schools. Some of them don't even have toilets. They don't have urinal places, not good places, safe places for young girls. So young girls, when they are, in their period, they don't even go to school for a number of days. And then you have they don't have the school books, the textbooks, and the type of teacher to student ratio is all not well thought through. The infrastructure is very dilapidated. I mean, when you have certain environments, what kind of people are you going to grow? What kind of people are you going to grow?
Right.
And so our education needs to be fixed. The health centers, our women are not able to access some of these health centers simply because of the language barrier. There are instances where women have lost their lives, they are pregnant, because there's a communication situation between the nurse and the woman who speaks only Ghana, can't speak English. So there are a lot of challenges. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to interject. I understand what you're saying, but are you saying that the lands are Gadangbe lands, like the lands where these SSNIT hotels, I mean, Labadi, La Palm Royal, belong to the Gadangbe community, and hence they should have consulted you before selling them, or exactly, like, be as specific as possible, how the Gadangbe Alliance for Change, what pivotal role or interest do you have in the sale of these SSNIT hotels?
The Gadangbe Alliance for Change is a social movement that is promoting or advocating social development across the Gadangbe state. So we are not just looking at Gamashi, we are looking at the entire Gadangbe all the way to Ngo Pram. Now, our stake in this is because these hotels is a social development entity, which needs to translate it to some type of wealth access, economic access to our Gadangbe people. And their stake in this is very critical because it's the land on which these hotels are sited. And as the allodial owners of the land have a serious stake in terms of deciding how these hotels are going to exchange hands.
But these are still
to even negotiate their stake in it. Over time, they have raised the issue that this hotel, they need to have equity share in it. And they need to also have some representation in terms of the workers that have to be Gadangbe people. And all these things have not been listened to. And SSNIT have not even had the opportunity, they've not expressed that, for lack of a better word, a courtesy, to meet the local owners of the land, to inform them of this new gesture that is happening, of exchange of land, sales. Now, what is very critical for us also as a land for change, we are citizens, and we want good governance. We believe that the way this SSNIT issue has been handled has demonstrated that there's a very serious weakness in the corporate governance regime of the SSNIT overall. The procurement process had serious ethical challenges, and all of these were not raised or addressed by the corporate governance entity within the SSNIT board. And that speaks largely to the type of politics or the types of good governance that we want for the country. And I believe that all these things are fundamental to even decisions around how to create development imperatives for the people of the Gadangbe community. And this is our concern.
Okay. Please hold for me. I'll come back to you. Now, Professor Sharif, the Deputy Chief of Staff has received your 15-point petition. What next? Were you giving some timelines on when they'll respond to you?
Sweetie, but as you can see, as a symbolic gesture, I'm in amber mode this morning. I was in red yesterday. So what it signifies is that we were on red alert yesterday. We're all charged. Today, we are in amber mode, still waiting to get response. If we don't, we'll get back to the streets. And this time around, if we're doing it, we're inviting people such as the former Chief Justice, who picketed around when the domestic debt exchange program were affecting pension pots and the likes of that. Because you look at it, sweetie, the whole idea is not about who is buying this. It's about the process and the intent behind it. Right? We are in a country where we are endemic with pension poverty. And when I talk about pension poverty, I am speaking to persons who retire with practically nothing to go home to after 30, 40 years of service, right? So this is the blood, sweat, and tears of pensioners. That average teacher who takes home 2,000 cedis and making a contribution to the National Pension Fund, retires and is struggling to even use the lump sum to roof a house, like, or a home, or something he or she can call property. This is what we are talking about. So if such it's going to happen, what are the modalities that are put in place? What's the justification for the sale of this? If someone says, okay, I'm a private man, right, I'm a member of cabinet, and I want to buy this to promote tourism, that is very lean, right? If you really indeed want to promote tourism, go out there and bring in big franchises such as the Crown Plaza, the Grand Hyatt, the Hiltons, and the likes of that. If you think you can go into the high market price and purchase that in the name of the promotion of tourism. But you'd realize that Labadi Beach Hotel has a very interesting trajectory. Go there and look at the historical context of their albums. The queens, the princesses, high dignified, high flying delegations that have visited Ghana in time past. This has been their abode. So this has even personal sentiments and attachment to our national history. So why sell it off or pawn it off to a crony of a government on a work and pay basis, as you would see? This is a giveaway. So all what we're saying is that, can we look at the books of Rock City? Right. As you see from GRA records, they were posting losses. So in terms of losses, were they undeclaring profits in order not to, or to evade some taxes to the state, or indeed they were having losses? I think this even calls for some forensic accounting into their activities. Let's talk about Labadi Beach Hotel. What profits has it posted in the last couple of years? So it's been posting profits, and if it's doing this, why do you have to sell it off?
Okay.
In any case, in solidarity to all of this, I had breakfast in the hotel as part of my contribution to the ongoing development and progress of the hotel. And when I sat in the breakfast area of the restaurant, I saw, passers-by come around to have breakfast. I saw, NGOs, civil society, UN badges flying around the breakfast table. And what it tells you is that this is a business that's still a going concern. Okay. Why sell it to a crony?
Prof, talk to me about the structure of this organization or the group that's put into leading the charge for this hands-off our hotels. I believe you are part of them. Is this a collaboration between the Minority Caucus, Arise Ghana, Labour, and just formed together to do this, mount pressure on the government to halt the sale? Or is this an organized group that will continue to take actionable steps till you get the results that you want? And if so, what are the next actionable steps that you plan to take?
No, you would see that this is a civil action we are taking, right? So we're not going to be rowdy about it. We follow due process. This is just the first step. The many steps that culminated in this began with an expose by the Honorable Samuel Okujato Ablakwa of the Southern constituency, which he did an elaborate job on it, giving all documentations that backs these claims. So there's evidence out there. Then we embarked on this demonstration. Well, we presented a petition, so we're going to wait a couple of days. And by a couple of days, I'm referring to a reasonable time frame. And
what's reasonable to you? A week, 2 weeks? What's reasonable?
No, I wouldn't give a definite answer, but I'll just say a reasonable time frame. Okay. Without that, then we can meet again and consult and take action. But I'll tell you that this is not just a minority decision, or for that matter, a minority trying to make a government unpopular or going after a particular individual. The TUC, as you will see, was at the front line of this. Arise Ghana was at the front line of this. Right. So what it tells you is that this is a coalition of civil society organizations. Even in the run-up to this, you saw the CSO Society in Ghana, led by CDE, present a press conference on this. So what it tells you is that it's a national affair, right? It is not an NDC affair, but the NDC as minority is part of it. And I would have been very elated if I'd seen some majority MPs join us in this fight for justice, so and to represent the voice of the voiceless.
Right. So this is a collaboration between all these groups involved, but is it a one-time thing that you just mobilize to this effect, or is there an actual structure, an some sort of organizational structure that is leading the fight against the sale of these hotels? That's what I want clarity on. Is this a one-time collaboration effort?
Hello, Siri, I seem to have lost you.
Okay, yeah. I'm back.
So as I said, it is a progressive fight until we get the yielded results.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Sharif Mahmood Khalid. And so hopefully I'll see you in green then, since your color, the colors that you're dressing now determine the mood you're in. But let me go back to Dr. Ishmael Dodu. Doc, what are the next actionable steps? Are they aligned with what Professor Sharif is saying?
True that there's a proper evaluation of the intended purposes for the sale of the hotel. In addition to one of the things that we are asking for is that there must be a comprehensive stakeholder consultations around whether or not it's the right thing to do. The allodial owners of the land wants to be very much involved in that decision making. The allodial owners of the land, we are also looking as key stakeholders to look at the equities that are contained within these hotels and how that equity will have to be rationalized and be given back to them, and what form that needs to be determined. We want the workers who are there also to be properly involved, bring them along. This is a serious change management process, and everybody needs to be involved. To speak to a larger point, that the way these hotels are treated, the sale of the hotels are treated vis-a-vis the people, the land people, it speaks to the bigger issue of how the entire Ghana state have been treated. Look at the lands that belong to other states like Osu, Nungwa and so on, that have been arrogated by political government entities and political entities. These lands were intended, for example, the trade fair, for example, was intended for a particular purpose to serve a global good for the African region and not just for Ghana. Now it is being converted into some type of private entity. Nobody understands, nobody knows, the students are not aware. So these are very, very important issues that the Ghana people are faced with, and we are very vexed about these issues, and we really want a change, and we are calling for that change. And that change is a social movement which will never stop until we see what we want to see for the Ghana people. Okay. And it's the right thing to do because it speaks to development. And it's the right thing to do because it also shows a blueprint of how you can lift people out of poverty when you are very deliberate about specific actions relating to their schools, their education, their health, and the property rate, the property taxes, royalties that need to be given to them, and they establish an entity that can help them to really think about their development imperatives and how to write those with the money that they get. I think that it will serve as a blueprint for how even other regions need to be organized based on their resources and making sure that the people are getting it. It's about social justice.
Right. And
Ghana can never achieve sustainable development goals, even if we claim to accelerate it. We set inequality happening where 3.5 million population are in constant abject poverty, which is about probably 12% of the
all right.
Very, 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 very key.
Doc, we have to go, but just one last follow-up question. I've gone through the 15 points, and I mean, when you talk about the procurement processes and it's a social issue, they're all embedded in here. But specifically to your demand about consultation, because Gadangbe, I mean, these are lands that belong to the people of the Gadangbe. It's not there. So shall we expect a different sort of submission of a petition, or how do you intend to, pass these demands to the president?
In fact, the La people themselves have written a communique and a press release around this issue.
Right.
That extensive consultation needs to be included. And I would advise government to take these 15 points very seriously and also include the transparent consultations with all key stakeholders to serve as a good example of how we treat some of these state properties that represent strategic investments for entities such as SSNIT.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ishmael Dodu with the Gadangbe Alliance for Change. So that's that. Some details and updates on yesterday's demonstration, hands-off hotels demonstrations. But there's still more coming up on the AM show. I'll be right back.